I finished reading the book. This book, I think I was inspired to read after Robert Redford passing away. I felt maybe, well, I have to read, or I have to watch this movie. The title is A River Runs Through It. And well, just wait a minute, because I've seen it already once a long time ago. So maybe I should read book. And so I got hold of this book, A River Runs Through It, by Norman Maclean. Norman Maclean is a writer, Chicago University, I think, the professor there. But he wrote this book when he was 70 years old, quite late for a writer to start writing. But it's about a memoir of his growing up in Montana with his father is, I think, the priest or the pastor of the church, and his wife and two sons. Norman is the older son, and maybe a couple years younger, maybe, is his name is Paul. So Paul and Norm grew up in this very rocky mountains culture. I think his parents' house is located in Missouri, and later the kids kind of lived nearby cities or town independently. But when this book's recall is that first page is that he said, when I was growing up, there is no difference between religion and fly fishing. And that would tell, that was tells you whole book already there. And this book is about this family. Father really, as a pastor, he had a job, but he really loved to do fly fishing. So when kids are small, maybe probably 10 years old or something like that, he took them to the nearby stream to do fly fishing and taught them how to fly fish. And fly fishing is kind of interesting because they use the this imitation fly, which is like a bug, like like a bee like shapes and everything, but it's all made of some bird's feather or something like that, and it's not the real worm or anything like that. And they put it in this very long fishing rod, and then throw it in the you kind of imitate this flying insects on top or the inside the water, and so that trout can think, oh, that's a nice meal, and then they just grab, and that's how they fish. But once you become a fly fisher, I think they despise the other fishing, like you put the worms and then they just put it in the water and fish. Those kind of fishing style is very I would say unattractive for them, I guess. So they have this superiority of being a fly fisher themselves. So Norm and Paul grew up in that kind of a household, and therefore they established that particular culture there. And this particular mountain fishing culture is, I felt, you know, of course, fly fishing is very, very popular all over the world. In Japan, for example, you know, fly fishing is very, very popular. But I felt this when I was reading in the first few pages. Wow, yeah, this is Mountain Americana. Mountain Americana for me is like, you know, you really get into this wilderness and really appreciate this particular sports, right? Hunting is a sport also, but it really appreciate this catching fish by flies fishing. And this particular culture, I think, very strong in the US, and the hunting is very strong in US as well. And so you know, it's not a, you know, derogatory term or anything for me. It's like a more respectful and more like admirable American culture for me, because I grew up in a pretty much like a 1960s TV culture came to Japan, and I started to watch all those American drama, sitcom, and those depict this typical American family who are very much like a wealthy type of people, and fun-loving people, and nothing to worry about, no worries and no struggles or nothing. You know, food's abundant, and they live in a big house, and you know, they play. I think this is where American culture for me, you know. So I wow, you know, I admired, and I kind of jealous of their lifestyle there. And when I came to the US in 1976, at the age of 27, I saw those lives of American people with my own eyes, and exactly that is the one I imagined. That they are very happy-go-lucky type of people, and they are very fun-loving, most of all. And the fun-loving culture, yeah, you know, like even rock and roll music or movies or anything like that at that time is very strong in that culture, and people enjoy to their heart content. And that kind of a lifestyle, you know, of course, you know, maybe existed in Japan as well, but the Japanese culture is more or less like you wanna enjoy the movie, for example, or you wanna enjoy the books, reading books, and a more quiet, a more you know, not active outdoor type of thing. You know, it's more or less like a indoor type of thing. I don't know that's true or not, because there's a lot of people who go hikings and everything in Japan. But I think even hiking, I think people who goes to hike, especially in Japan, is a more or less like a selected, very you know, the well-to-do people, probably because they have to go all the way to the mountainous area, and you know, you have to spend a couple of days taking off work, and you have to you know, really invest yourself for that type of activities. But in the US, it's like you know, you can do every day, for example, because financially probably they are well supported in that type of situation, and therefore they can go, and they can go fishing for herd content, and hunting also. I think that's what I realized. Hunting is very, very popular here too. My friends when I was in Colorado used to go hunting in a certain season, and summer season I think they go fishing. I think that's what happened. So he always anticipating this oncoming scheduled trip with his friend. 3 or 4 or 5 people go together for hunting trip or the fishing trip. And when he talks about it, he talks with this tremendous relish, tremendous enjoyment. So that's I feel like that's Americana. So yeah, it's kind of different because I think American people are very much used to be free to do anything. So, and also the opportunity, the mountains right there where they are living. And so yeah, that's what this book about. And as the author said, growing up in this particular religious family, but fly fishing is as important as their own religion. And so yeah, and I think 90% of this book, this is a book, I think actually two stories in there, and half of them is a river and through it, but the other one is logging and pimping and your power gym or something like that. And so that's half of them is the river runs through it. And so when I was reading, I really steeped myself into this particular book, and I kind of have a map of where they're talking about the city, Helena, for example, and some creek. The city names something creek. I think that's Norm live, and Helena is, I think, Paul live. So Norm and Paul are very close to each other. They love with each other, and they really respect their own life. Paul was very good in fly fishing. He learned from his hard working the attitude, reading books and learning from his father, as well as doing it himself. And Norm is more or less like probably influenced by Paul to do so, not really into it in fly fishing, but of course he they are very competitive to each other. Sometimes they compete, but most of the time they kind of listen to each other, and they respect each other. So quite often Paul and Norm go for fly fishing. Anything that something happened in their life, a stressful thing, so one of them say, well, let's go fly fishing, it's the time. And oh yeah, and so they go together. And so Norm got married with his wife, and his wife has this brother, I think Neil, his name is Neil. Neil is the person who in this book is not the fly fisherman, even though he was born there in the mountain area, but he is not the fly fisherman. So when Norm's wife asked Neil to go with Paul and Norm, go fly fishing, he brings this fishing rod, which is not the fly fishing fishing rod is like a warm bait fishing rod. And so Norm and Paul are very disappointed and kind of ignored him, more or less. And so oftentimes they don't like Neil. Neil is kind of a little bit lazy person and a little bit not so bright. Paul and Noah are very bright, smart people, but Neil is not. And so there are the snippets of all these relationship story as well in this book. But mostly, I think very, very deep in this book is about Norm's love for his younger brother, Paul. Paul is admired by him and well respected by his older brother because he is so good and he is so bright and he can do whatever. So he's the best fisherman among those, Norm and Paul and their father, those three of them. And Paul is the best one to fish. By the way, so I felt like, wow, when they fish, they bring those fish and, do they eat them or anything? And there's nothing much about cooking or preparing the fish for cooking or eating or anything like that. So their main purpose is not eating fish, eating trout, but just activity itself, going in the wilderness in a Zen style, right? Because the wilderness is waiting to be person to be more meditative and deep in the nature and the very life of farming experience there. So interesting. I think the fly fishermen, of course, they bring home those catch, but I think mostly they just enjoy being outdoors and trying to catch the fish. And when you see the YouTube video of fly fishing video, most people they catch the trout, the pretty good sized trout, but they release in the stream again, not killing them. And that's also I felt very, very interesting. I think a fish loving people is not necessarily eat the catch, but they enjoy the experience of catching. So yeah, I think this is very Americana, and I really loved. So the reason I read book is because I wanted to see this Robert Redford's film, and but I looked all over the place to see this film, but I couldn't find it. So I ended up with buying the DVD. So I'm kind of after finishing this, very, very excited to watch the movie. I watched once, I think, and I kind of remember Brad Pitt in it, and I didn't know the story that much after watching it. I think my memory was vague, so I didn't know the Brad Pitt played a Paul or Norm or anything like that. But it turns out Brad Pitt played Paul. And in this book, very, very end, there's this surprise ending. That is a spoiler, so I cannot tell you what it is. But because of that, I felt like, wow, yeah, I should watch this movie. And the birds. Yeah, so I really felt like I should read book first. Book is more or less like 90% of them about fishing, and the fishing itself is not easy, even though they are experts in fishing. Even Paul, for example, he has to struggle to find the stream where fishes are waiting for the fly. That's kind of for me, I thought they know exactly where to go, but kind of interesting to find that yeah, even them, it's very, very difficult to find the spots where they can fly fishing. So yeah, it is kind of a like a soul cleansing reading experience here, because when I was reading, I kind of imagining it and deep into this mountain stream, and enjoying the greenery and natures and all these things. You can feel that type of enjoyment reading books, because books is written just like that. And definitely, if you are into fly fishing, I think you really, really enjoy this book, because it talks about the technique, where to fish, and how to find the good spots. And especially, they are kind of a finish, during that particular fishing trip, one day is over, and they drink beer, right? So yeah, those things I think could be a tremendously fun, yeah, for fish loving people. The technique itself is very artistically skillful approach of fishing, and that's when I think really, really fly fishing became popular.